The Mavericks look to end their road trip on a high note as they take on the red-hot Coby White and the Chicago Bulls. We'll get you ready for tonight's game. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carello. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on our pregame show as your Dallas Mavericks take on the Chicago Bulls tonight as they end their East Coast road trip as the Mavericks look to continue their push for the play-in tournament. We'll get you ready for tonight's game. Coming up over the course of the next half hour, we'll let you know who's in, who's out. We'll focus in on our Mavericks player spotlight as well, and you'll hear from Jason Kidd in our pregame show as well, gentlemen, on this sensational Saturday evening here as Anthony Davis returns home to Chicago and to take on the Chicago Bulls, who have been quite hot as of late. An intriguing game tonight, gentlemen, as the Mavericks continue their push for the play-in.
The last dance for Brandon Williams.
It is.
We got to pour one out for him.
Another one.
Another one.
I'm just coming down.
You got it right this time. Look at you.
I'll make the same prediction. I bet he plays a regular season game for Dallas again.
Ooh, okay.
Right. Okay.
We'll see.
Bobby, how we feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. It was a nice day outside. As Bill Withers would say, it was a lovely day. And ready for some basketball, ready for some sports. You got two teams that, Mavs have won 3 out of 4, Bulls have won 4 straight. They're both playing well. I think this time last week we would have thought this might be a snoozer, and here we are like, all right, this might actually be a pretty fun game.
There is definitely intrigue going into tonight's game, of course, for the Dallas Mavericks, as we set you up for both of these teams coming into tonight. Game number 75 for your Dallas Mavericks at 36-38 on the year, 16-22 away from the American Airlines Center. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls at 33-40, 14-22 so far at United Center this season. Bulls a 2.5-point favorite tonight with the over-under at 237.5. Of course, tip-off at 7 p.m. tonight.
A lot of points, Jesus.
Say it again.
237 is that's a lot of points.
Yeah, 237.5 is the over-under total tonight for both of these teams. Game time, of course, at 7 p.m. You're going to be watching the game on KFAA Channel 29, and, of course, on Mavericks TV. Of course, the Mavericks come into tonight's game 10th in the Western Conference. They have a chance to move up to 9th because the Sacramento Kings lost for the 9th time in the last 12 games. They just got blown out by the Orlando Magic. So if the Mavericks win tonight, they will move into the 9th spot by virtue of having a better record than the Sacramento Kings. Remember, the Kings and the Suns both have the tiebreaker, so the Mavericks will have to finish ahead of one of those two teams to be in the play-in tournament. Dallas coming into tonight 4-6 in their last 10 games, but have won 3 other last 4, including their win on Thursday over Orlando themselves. 13-13 so far against the Eastern Conference this year, 22-14 against teams that are below 500. Dallas, of course, currently 2-1 on their 4-game East Coast road trip that finishes up tonight in Chicago before they return home on Monday to take on the Brooklyn Nets, and then on Wednesday at home against the Atlanta Hawks. Meanwhile, the opposition tonight, the Chicago Bulls, 9th in the East. They sit a full 2 games behind the Hawks for the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. Chicago coming into tonight red hot, as we mentioned, a team that's won 4 straight games, 8-2 over their last 10 games overall. In fact, they've beaten the Los Angeles Lakers twice within the span of a week, of course, coming off of that epic buzzer beater from half court from Josh Giddey on Thursday night. Chicago so far this year, 10-17 against the Western Conference, 20-16 against teams below 500. Chicago playing 3 of their next 4 games at home, starting with Dallas tonight. They'll be on the road on Monday when they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder, gentlemen, which gets us to our lead story going into tonight's game. And it focuses, of course, on your Dallas Mavericks, who have put themselves in position with a win tonight to, if the season were to end today, they would be hosting the 9-10 play-in game as far as the Western Conference is concerned, and they have a chance to control their own destiny as they continue to get a little bit more healthy. Anthony Davis going to be back in the lineup, of course, tonight as he plays his third game after missing the last, 6 weeks with the adductor strain. He's going to get some help in the front court in the returns of Kai Jones and PJ Washington. So the Mavericks, of course, now in control of their own destiny. With a win tonight, can have a 3-1 road trip and get themselves in position with the final handful of games left in the regular season to be in that play-in tournament. Here's what Jason Kidd had to say about the Mavericks controlling their own destiny and what that means for them at this point of the year. Take a listen.
Well, I think, just the culture, that locker room, the character, resilience, these guys are playing for one another, trying to protect each other. And so it's this time of the year, if you can control your own destiny, that's a good thing. And so hopefully we can continue to do that. This is the last game on the road trip. And as we go, we can run out of games, but if we can continue to keep doing what we're doing and putting ourselves in a chance to win games, hopefully that gives us the opportunity for the season to keep going.
And Tim, you've consistently said that this team would be in the play-in tournament by the time we get to season's end. They are in a terrific position to do that as long as they continue to build the momentum, what they've done in terms of winning 3 of their last 4 games, and they're getting healthier as the season is going on. But you've been right there saying that this team would be in the play-in by the time we get to the end of the regular season here.
Just seemed likeliest. This was a team that was, even with 8 players available, sometimes coming close to getting wins. They were competing far above of where we thought they should be. It's a team that just went out against Orlando, and game looked like it was headed towards a rough, tough offensive. And then all of a sudden, in the third quarter, they pop off, they take the lead. Chicago's rolling right now. Chicago's offense is on fire. We'll see how much that is something Dallas can slow down, but I don't know. I have gotten to a point where I don't doubt these Mavericks, and I it's different than what it felt. I remember they beat Boston, they beat Brooklyn, and then Boston when they went to the conference finals 3 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago. And, I remember there was a point where it's like, I don't doubt this team's ability to do anything. I think we were sitting next to each other last season, the season when they went to the finals, when they went down big against the Houston Rockets.
That's right.
And I was like, they're going to come back and win this game. They're just going to win it. You just had that sense. And it's a different sense. This team does not have the ceilings of those 2 past teams that we've seen have long, deep postseason run type success. Of course, it doesn't have that ceiling. It doesn't have Kyrie. This team is coming together. It's still too orientated around, a player who's no longer here. But I do believe this is a team that is going to find its way, that's going to win enough games, that is going to continue winning games, even if it's not tonight, but it wouldn't shock me at all. No matter how hot Chicago has been, it's just a team that I finally fully believe is going to win the games they need to win to make it into the play-in tournament, and we'll go from there.
This game could be big if they're ultimately going to end up in the top 10. It could also be immaterial, but I mean, I think the real story is if you can make it through this game healthy, there's a really good chance that in one of the next 2 games you're going to have another big man, and maybe even both of them. With Stein reporting that Gafford and Lively, who were initially ruled as doubtful tonight, they're both going to be out today, but could be back. Earlier this week, Stein said early next week, and then earlier today, Stein said kind of imminent. It feels like it's going to be a very soon type of thing.
And we know that when they put doubtful on the injury report, that usually indicates a game or 2 away. Yeah,
you're trending definitely in the right direction.
And that's the case for everybody, but especially for Dallas. That's kind of how they play it.
Yeah, and with a back-to-back coming up in LA next weekend, it's Friday and Saturday. It sure would be nice to have those guys back as soon as possible, but definitely for those games, because very likely AD is not going to play in both of those games. And then also with Lively and Gafford both coming back, if they're back by then, they probably won't play in both of those games either. So it would be great to have Lively for one and Gafford for one, and AD for one and PJ Washington for one, or maybe even 2 of them for both, or maybe even all of them for both. Who knows? But, if there is a time to get healthy, it really would have been a month and a half ago. But if there was a second best time to get healthy, it would have been a few weeks ago. And then now the third best time to get healthy, because these last...
I would have said third best is tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
they got 8 games left.
best.
They're tied with Sacramento right now. They're 1 game ahead of Phoenix. You're in a position to where if you can rattle off a couple wins, then, honestly, you might wrap it up with the way that these 2 teams are just toiling next to Dallas in the standings.
Oh boy!
And with their next games coming at home against Brooklyn, who is terrible, and Atlanta, who is not very good either, that could do it. You win tonight, you win those next two. Like you're not clinching, but like you might as well have clinched.
Yeah, and we know how difficult Phoenix's schedule is. They have the toughest remaining schedule in the NBA. Sacramento has been on a nosedive down the Western Conference. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, they've now lost 9 of their last 12 games after getting blown out tonight by the Orlando Magic. So the Mavericks are in a good position here with a few wins.
They gave up 121 to that team.
Yeah, they got their
to that team.
Yeah, they got their butts kicked. They were down by as many as 31 in the middle of the third quarter. Like it wasn't even close. What Orlando did to Sacramento tonight. So if you're the Mavericks, here you go. The destiny is in your own hands to control it down the stretch of the final 7-8 games of the regular season. They're taking on a Chicago Bulls team, though, that has been extremely hot, especially led by Coby White. Coby White has been sensational for this team in his last 10 games, averaging nearly 29 points per game, shooting 49% from the field and nearly 37% from downtown. His running mate, Nikola Vucevic, so far this year, averaging nearly 19 points per game, averaging over 10 rebounds per contest, which is 10th in the NBA. And how about Josh Giddey, a guy who was virtually actually, he was unplayable last season in the postseason against the Dallas Mavericks in the West semis. He has been fantastic, especially over his last 6 games, averaging nearly a triple-double, where he has been going for nearly 24 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds per game, 10 assists per game, and 10 rebounds per contest. Had the first ever 15, 10, 17 assists, 8 steal game last week against the Los Angeles Lakers. Josh Giddey has been fantastic. And of course, you saw the buzzer beater that he hit the other night to beat Los Angeles for the second time in a week. He's been sensational for them. Of course, your Mavericks led by Anthony Davis, averaging nearly 18 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds, and 4 assists per contest in his 3 games so far with Dallas this year. Klay Thompson averaging over 15 points in his last 9 games. An offensive team, the Chicago Bulls have been really good this year. Number 6 in the NBA in terms of points per game, top 15 in both field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. They also, you don't want to necessarily foul them because they are terrific at the free throw line. Number 4 in the association this year in terms of free throw percentage. Good rebounding team as well. Number 6 in the NBA in terms of rebounds per game, and number 4 in the league in terms of assists per game. Middle of the road when it comes to offensive rating at 19th so far this year. Just 24th, though, in defensive rating for the Chicago Bulls team. For a team, gentlemen, that offensively has been dynamite as of late. Josh Giddey has been the story for this team over the last several games. Has really come on for Chicago in the way that he's been playing.
Yeah, Josh is interesting. Obviously, as you said, he was unplayable. Like, he literally was not able to be played by the Thunder against Dallas to end last season. But Giddey's interesting in that, yes, he is leveled up his three-point shot to an extent. There's also a confidence factor. Both of those are definitely significant factors in him coming on for Chicago. But another really crucial reason he was not playable in the Thunder series against Dallas is that Shea and Jalen were better options to have the ball in their hands. And so if you're a shaky shooter and the ball needs to be in Shea's hand, that is, it's a much different scenario. He's always been a pretty good player with the ball in his hands. He's always been pretty good as long as he can run the offense. The problem is Oklahoma City had, they had gone past him. So now Giddey has improved, but he's also running Chicago's offense, which is a different ask than running, Oklahoma City's offense, which is being run by, the possible MVP of the league. So big difference. It doesn't shock me. Certainly some of the improvement is notable, but a lot of it was that he just grew out of what Oklahoma City could provide for him. And I always thought, to an extent, it was a little bit overblown that, Chicago got they got pilloried for not getting first round picks in the Caruso deal. And I always thought that was a little bit overblown just because, now, a lot of it was because they have a reputation of not getting first round picks back and, when they trade out their players and they wait too long. But Caruso, at the point that he's at as a player, and the fact that Josh Giddey is somebody who was always going to respond to an environment where he actually is, the 1B option, 1A, 1B option, whatever you want to say with Coby White. It doesn't surprise me at all that he's having a bit of a resurgence.
Mavericks and the Bulls playing each other for the final time this season as the Mavericks look for the season series sweep. Dallas won the first matchup way back on November the 6th at the AAC, 119-99. Luka Doncic that night had 27 points and 13 assists in the win. Nikola Vucevic had 14 points in a losing effort. Check this out. 7 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams have been decided by double digits. So a lot of blowouts between these two teams in their last 10 meetings. We'll let you know who's in, who's out. Plus, we'll focus in on our Mavericks player spotlight with Brandon Williams coming up here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. But before they do that, let's help you win some money when it comes to Sleeper.
A sleeper pick of the night. First off, applying a 20% payout boost. How about that? That might boost my winnings. Josh Giddey, I think he's going to score at least 15 points. Spencer Dinwiddie, kind of tough to decide. Do I want assists? Do I want points? He's kind of been doing a little bit of everything lately. But I settled on at least 10 points for Winwitty. Coby White. I think Coby White is going to get at least 30 points plus rebounds plus assists. That dude has been absolutely red smoking hot lately. And gets quite a few assists too. Kind of like a Kyrie Luka thing with Giddey and Coby White. Like both score a lot, both get a lot of assists, both kind of do everything. And then PJ Washington more than 25.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. I think he's going to have a pretty good night. Chicago has a lot of guards and they have some wings. Their big men aren't super imposing and they don't have a lot of like effective bulky size outside of Pat Williams. And so I think that maybe Najee, but mostly PJ is going to have a really good night. And I think PJ and Najee both, if they can get past that initial line of defense, especially if it's Williams on the ball, there's really no one behind them that can stop them as they get to the rim. And also, who the hell is guarding AD tonight? I guess that's kind of a different question. But like Matas Buzelis, Giddey, like putting Pat Williams on AD, like what is going to... I don't even know what to expect whenever we watch this game. Vucevic?
Oh, I was making sure you wrapped up the sleeper ad.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, I mean...
Yeah.
I was making sure you were good on there. I didn't want to say this. Like, he's cooking right now.
I would say Buzelis.
On AD?
I mean, it's not... I mean, I think he's going to be a really good defender. I think he's shown it. I think he is better as a weak side guy. But I think if you're Chicago, like, hey, blood him.
All right, game on.
Blood him.
Starting lineup for your Dallas Mavericks tonight.
Be a little bit of everybody.
Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Kai Jones. Arguably the biggest lineup the Mavericks have been able to put out here in several weeks with your front court of PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Kai Jones. Your backcourt tonight, Spencer Dinwiddie and Klay Thompson. Let's let you know who's in and who's out for both of these teams. We start with the opposition, of course, with the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball, he's out tonight with the right wrist sprain. Ayo Dosunmu, he is out tonight with the left shoulder surgery. Trey Jones, he is out with the left foot sprain. And E.J. Liddell is out with illness tonight. Anthony Davis, good to go tonight with the left adductor strain. Of course, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford remain out. They were both upgraded to doubtful going into tonight's game. Our very own Mark Stein reporting that their returns are imminent in terms of being able to be available this coming week for the Mavericks front court there. Brandon Williams, he's playing in his final game tonight on his two-way contract. He's available. He's been dealing with some low back tightness. PJ Washington, he is back and available. He's been dealing with the left ankle sprain. Kai Jones is also back as well. He had been dealing with the left contusion, hip contusion after that nasty fall that he had the other night on the dunk attempt. And Caleb Martin, he is also available as well as he, of course, continues to deal with that left hip strain.
Breaking news?
No, I was just saying break up the Mavs. I got a whole bunch of healthy dudes.
I thought Luke, our very good friend Luke Byrne, asked a good question in the comments earlier, which is, what does Dallas do when Brandon Williams runs out? You know, when this being his last game, what do they do the rest of the season? I think a lot of prey. Najee. So it's Spencer and Najee in that order. That is who you want more or less running your offense. I think you've got and I'm just going off the dome, and we can disagree. I can change my mind in 10 seconds. But off the top of my head, I think Najee has a start. I think Spencer he can still be the starter, but you prioritize him. You move him into more of a bench role. I don't know. Would you rather just Najee running these bench units?
Handoffs. A
lot of dribble handoffs.
But basically,
now that your bigs are back.
If Najee's, if you view Spencer as your best playmaker, I want him on the court when AD isn't. That's why I'm saying bench units, because AD gives you a lot more freedom to run handoffs, to let people attack in those ways. He can bring the ball up the court. Of course, you don't want that all the time. Of course, you want to find him, positioning, and maybe I don't know.
Probably not going to be AD though. It's probably going to be Gafford and Lively.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely for sure. Yeah, that's going to be involved in there as well. I mean, if they're back as soon as the next game, then
I'm not trying to say it too loudly, but Jaden Hardy, maybe.
It's going to be
he's going to be on the court.
Unconventional offense, I think, is what they're honestly their offense is going to look a lot like the Kings.
Maybe Max Christie handles
a lot of dribble handoffs at the elbow 3-point line, elbow extended. I think it's going to be a lot of King stuff.
Yeah, maybe you just want Jaden Hardy, Najee Marshall, and Max Christie all on the floor for these bench mob units. Stick a center in there, maybe PJ's in there. You just gotta know where the ball's going, and you gotta know, that everybody's empowered to attack. And as long as you have PJ, I mean, I don't love that, but
I guess my question too would be, where's the shooting coming from?
I take it back. I think you need to pair Spencer with Anthony Davis, because if he's going to be on the court, a big part of his success is making sure you get him in good spots. And I think Spencer is the player most, he just provides the triple threat ability that is required for a guard to get a player into a post up. If Najee Marshall's doing that and he picks up his dribble and he's trying to lob it in there, guys, you're just going to sag off him. Oh, you want to shoot that?
Dinwiddie's also the best shooter out of all the guys that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That's not a great thing. Don't be mistaken.
Sort of Max, but
like Pete,
sometimes Hardy.
No shot. Yeah, Hardy, I guess.
I'm about to say Hardy is probably the next
Hardy's
one.
not
He's
off the dribble. Off the dribble, hell no. I mean, he's got to catch and shoot. He's got to be set up, and yeah, they're in a tough situation.
They've got to survive 10 to 12 minutes without Spencer Dinwiddie, because he is the leading minutes getter for this Mavericks season. He's going to be playing 20, 35 every night from here on out.
For a team that we thought was going to have too much guard depth, my gosh, they have now come to the point where it is that place. Shout out to John P., who clearly is noticing Bobby's attire for tonight.
It was really hard to do a white balance check with those down there. I feel like Tanner is earning overtime for this. That's a little industry joke.
There they are, baby.
Speaking of spotlights, Bobby, let's focus in on the Mavericks player spotlight, and we do so with Brandon Williams. Shout out to Brandon Williams. He is playing in his final game on his two-way contract tonight. He has been fantastic for the Dallas Mavericks, especially in the last 10 games. My man averaging over 17 points per game on 55% shooting, dishing out nearly 5 assists per contest, and also giving you 1.7 steals per game as well. He was really good on Thursday in the win over the Orlando Magic. My man had 14 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and was a team-high plus 21 in the victory over Orlando on Thursday. Jason Kidd speaking to Brandon Williams' improvement and what he has been able to provide as a part of this team with his ball handling and more. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think when you talk about B. Will's, his demeanor, just his patience, as we talked about this earlier, it's easy to say be patient, to wait. You're going to get a turn, and sometimes it takes weeks, months. And so for the situation that we've been in all season with injuries, he's had that opportunity come a little bit sooner, and he's taken full advantage of it. You look at the coaching staff that work with the two ways have done an incredible job. Riley and Hoop and those guys. And so having those guys prepared to play, if it's 15 minutes, if it's 30 minutes, if it's 40 minutes. And so I think B. Will is taking full advantage of that opportunity, and he has shown that he can play at a high level, and he's executed the game plan. Now it's just getting used to playing with guys that have been out. When you talk about AD, Gaff, and D Live, as those guys come back, it's just getting used to being able to play with those guys.
And for an undersized guard, Brandon Williams has been really good. He's got good quickness. He's shown the speed. He's been shooting the ball well. He has really given them a lift, and really what Tim has been, as Jason Kidd mentioned, really unexpected opportunities for him. Williams has taken full advantage of them to give the Mavericks a big lift, especially handling the basketball for them.
I think the most important thing he did was that he made Mavs basketball watchable for long portions of the last month. He gave us something to actually pay attention to and enjoy. And so thank you. Salute to you.
I think
2 for 2 on salutes, by the way. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Well, I am 100%.
I'm talking about on this night.
I have always
because there were some questions on that side of the room over there.
That was an accident. All right, we know where I stand.
Hey.
So
just trying to be a public figure over here.
It really is too bad that such extreme yet understandable basketball nihilism is set in for so many people in the Mavs fan base, because if everything happening on the floor over the last 2-ish months weren't happening, in front of basically amid the most scandalous, controversial period a franchise has gone through in our lifetimes, I feel like people like Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards, Max Christie, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kai Jones would be like folk heroes. Najee Marshall would be like, get the statue of Najee ready.
Like Yogi Ferrell levels.
Oh my God.
Cult fame.
Yeah, and Yogi Ferrell came along at a time when the team was bad. They were bad. They were 33-49 that year, and then 24-58 the next year, and then Yogi left to go to the Kings.
And people still wear his jersey, or at least Mavs Muse does.
Like, these guys would be like folk heroes, because they are busting their ass every night, and every single one of them is having the best stretches of their careers to keep this thing afloat. And now it's barely staying afloat. They are one bad week away from not even making the play-in. This is a team that was supposed to win the championship, right? Or at least go far. But it's a bunch of dudes. It's a bunch of people that most of you watching and most of us up here and most of the people that we know have really never seen play before, don't know much about. Maybe there are a lot of people that probably haven't even heard of some of these guys.
And to be honest, weren't really expecting to hear about any of these dudes.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like, we've spent more time this season talking about Brandon Williams playing basketball than we have Luka.
Yeah.
Like, Brandon Williams played way more games than Luka had. Kessler Edwards played more games than Luka. Like, Kai Jones, by the end of this, is going to – he'll have scored more points this season than Dwight Powell, if he hasn't already.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're talking about here. But these guys are doing what they can, and they're all playing great, And so losing another good soldier here. And Brandon Williams, you will be missed, but, buddy, thank you for everything.
Let's get to some X Factors for tonight's game. Just a couple that are really important if you're going to be watching this game again on KFAA Channel 29 and, of course, on Mavericks Television with tip-off at 7 p.m. Team offensive rebounding for the Dallas Mavericks. This is a Chicago Bulls team that is number 1 in the association in defensive rebounds per contest. You got to find some second-chance opportunities against this Chicago team. Otherwise, they like to clean up on the defensive glass. And finally, if you're the Mavericks, you got to find a way to keep the Chicago Bulls out of the fast break. We talked about taming the Bulls. They definitely love to get out on the break. They are number 3 in the association, scoring over 18 points per game out on the fast break. So they love to get out and run. And offensively, they have been dynamite over their last 10 games. We know what you have seen from Josh Giddey, Coby White, and others. But this team loves to punish you out on the break. You got to limit those transition opportunities if you're Dallas tonight. Otherwise, gentlemen, some real intrigue. We mentioned it earlier with the Kings losing on the road to the Orlando Magic. By the time we get to the end of tonight's game, the Mavericks could be in the 9th spot, which means they would be hosting the play-in game if the season were to end today. That's where we are.
Mission accomplished. That's all I had.
There's still 8 games left.
It's not over. Job's not done yet.
Oh, well, that's true.
As a certain late Laker would say.
Well, mission accomplished is famously prematurely said.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
After this game, the Mavs will be entering a certain kind of 7-game series, to see if they can earn their way through a 2-game series to get to another 7-game series. So
a 7-game series against 6 different opponents.
It's basically playoff time now. The Mavs are essentially
it's go time.
I mean, they have to. They have to finish. They got to win.
They have to finish ahead of one of these 2 teams to get in.
Probably got to win 5 of your last 8 games in order to make the playoffs. Maybe 4 if Phoenix falls on its face, but you're probably gonna have to go 5-3. Can you do it? Let's see.
You got 2 games against the Clippers, 1 against the Lakers, 1 against a Memphis team that apparently got a new coach all of a sudden. So a lot of work to be done, including tonight against the Chicago Bulls. We'll be back here 15 minutes after the game tonight between your Mavericks and the Chicago Bulls with our full post game as well. Make sure that you tune in on DLLS Sports. And plus, on the way out the door, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports and download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free on iTunes Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get those podcasts for free. Search DLLS Mavs. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Krella. That is our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you post-game right here on DLLS Sports as it's game time for your Dallas Mavericks. You'll be good. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.